Philippines, almost a third of 5 to 10-year-old children are underweight and stunted. And studies have shown that poor nutrition leads to poor academic performance and early school dropouts. Moreover, the youth's declining interest in agriculture poses a major challenge for the future of food security in Southeast Asia. School and home gardens are a simple yet effective way of addressing these problems. The concept is nothing new, but what if, through an integrated, participatory, and science-based approach, we could further capitalize on school and home gardens to alleviate hunger, promote nutrition and healthy diets, enhance academic performance, and stimulate the youth's interest in agriculture. These were the challenges that the School and Home Gardens project addressed. With initial funding from the Asian Development Bank and the Japan Fund for Poverty Reduction through the Simeo College, this participatory action research combined the strengths of SEARCA, Simeo Center of Excellence in Agriculture, the University of the Philippines Los Baños, one of the leading agricultural universities in Southeast Asia, and the Department of Education, the lead coordinating agency of schools in the Philippines. The idea for this project came about as early as 2010, when then Philippine Education Secretary and Simeo President, Brother SEARCA, to help strengthen these issues. The idea was for the pilot sites in the Philippines to be off in assistance of Simeo centers. To achieve this goal, the project has 3 main pillars: education, nutrition, and economics. We implemented the School and Home Gardens project through a series of participatory activities. First, we selected the pilot schools. Then we engaged teachers in capacity building activities.
Relevant concepts, practices, and technologies were introduced to the teachers.
After which, teachers established the school gardens, following various concepts, including edible landscaping. Schools were then provided with additional garden facilities and equipment. Moreover, we formally linked partner schools with their respective local government units.
During implementation, we encouraged teachers to link very closely with their local government units, with the municipal agriculture officers, and also with the municipal nutrition action officers.
Local government units supplied additional garden facilities and manpower. Toward the project end, awards and recognition were given to outstanding schools for their best practices in implementing various components of the project. The project's key accomplishments focused on nutrition, education, and economic well-being. Weight and height of the malnourished children improved.
It lessened the malnourished and wasted pupils in our school.
School children ate more vegetables. Moreover, students showed better familiarity with vegetables and their nutrients.
They have learned to differentiate the nutritive value of different vegetables in our garden.
Dahil po sa gulayan, naging pamilyar po sa mga gulay na akala ko po noon ay isang damo lang. Na yun po pala ay pwedeng kainin.
School gardens have become learning sites for various classes, showcasing education in a natural setting. They have also made school children more aware of simple agricultural practices. The school gardens became learning laboratories for children, teachers, and even parents. where they learned about recommended and appropriate technologies and practices of UPLB relevant to the project.
Some of the pupils said, Sir, I want to be an agriculturist someday.
Having participated in numerous capacity building activities, the pilot school teachers themselves have been actively conducting re-eco workshops. Through the workshops conducted, the teachers prepared a total of 125 lesson plans for their classes. This is the project's way of institutionalizing school gardens as a tool for education. Other than the lesson plans, project partners generated knowledge resources, including a recipe book for the school feeding program and a module on school gardens. The school gardens supplied almost half of the needs of the school feeding program and even extended the duration of the feeding period.
Nagluluto po kami ng iba't ibang ulam. At ang maganda po doon, ang nilalahok po namin ay dito po nanggagaling sa aming gulayan.
School children brought home some of the harvest for their families.
Ito po ay talbos ng kamote. Minsan po ako po ay nakakapag-uwi nito sa aming bahay para po lutuin ni nanay.
Families of school children have actively participated in the maintenance of the school gardens. Through the gardening workshops and provision of planting materials, these families have also established gardens in their respective homes.
Ayan, tulad po ng mga anak ko, mahilig sa gulay. Sa kanila, halimbawa po yung talbos. Pwede na lang po na, yung ipalaga po gusto nila, isasapaw lang po sana, ulam na po nila. Tsaka laking tipid po. Hindi na po bibili sa palengke, hindi ka na bibili sa basta pag may sarili kang tanim, kukuha ka lang.
The pilot schools have planted the seeds and reaped the fruits of their labor. But the School and Home Gardens project lives on through its self-sustaining and self-rolling design. For one, 2 other schools in Laguna have already adopted the School and Home Gardens model through their own initiatives. From this growing network of pilot and sister schools with their respective local governments, we envision the School Gardens project to scale out throughout the province of Laguna, becoming a self-propelling model for other interested provinces in the country and even other countries in Southeast Asia.
I hope in the near future that this will be a good starting point for other stakeholders to be in partner with us in this noble task of providing proper nutrition to our school children.
Overall, the School and Home Gardens have improved children's nutrition and sparked their interest in agriculture. Let us continue to build gardens that build children's lives and livelihood for their families.
Isa rin sa naging benepisyo ng gulayan sa paaralan ay ang mga magulang ng aming mga eskwela. Hindi na sila problema kahit magmahalan man ang mga gulay, hindi na sila bumibili ng gulay sa labas dahil mayroon na silang sariling tanim.
Ako po ay naniniwala na ang pagkakaroon ng maisong kakaisipan at pangangatawan ay aking sandata upang simulan.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 5th SEARCA Online Learning and Virtual Engagement Seminar, or SOL for short. My name is Kim Bantayan, and I am a Program Specialist of the Training for Development Unit of the Education and Collective Learning Department. I hope you enjoyed the short video shown earlier about SEARCA's Participatory Action Research Project on School plus Home Gardens implemented in 2016. In partnership with the Department of Education, Division of Laguna, and the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. The other video that was shown is giving you a glimpse of SEARCA and what we do. But if I may add, SEARCA is hosted by the Philippine government on the campus of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. So we are coming to you live from Los Baños, Laguna, the special science and nature city of the Philippines. We all know that one of the challenges that we face during this COVID-19 global pandemic is how to secure food for our families. This SOLVE webinar series is SEARCA's immediate response to the emerging impacts of COVID-19 global pandemic on food security by maximizing the use of information and communication technology platforms to inform, educate, and share evidence-based solutions and tested technologies, as well as best practices on the ground. Just to give you a quick recap, and for the benefit of those who just tuned in or new online attendees, last week's webinar focused on efforts to solve food insecurity through the school plus home gardens. Dr. Jocelyn Endaya of the Department of Education discussed the effects of food insecurity on learners and how the department addresses these issues by strengthening its health and nutrition programs and integrating these in the K-12 curriculum. One of these health initiatives and programs is the Gulayan sa Paaralan, or the school or the vegetables in school programs, complemented by the school-based feeding program. To strengthen these two programs, SEARCA, the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and the Department of Education Division of Laguna embarked on a collaborative action research project called the School plus Home Gardens. Ms. Sol Villanueva, the principal of Bagong Bayan Elementary School based in Santa Cruz, Laguna, shared with us her journey, the challenges met along the way, and best practices in implementing School plus Home Gardens program on the ground. Today's online conversation is a continuation of last week's webinar. And for this 5th webinar series, we will be featuring more champions of the School plus Home Gardens program. But before we proceed, please allow me to just quickly go over some very interesting statistics gathered from the SOLVE webinar held last May 20. The infograph shows that 84% of our online viewers last week were female, and the rest were male. This data has been consistent with the figures gathered over the past 4 SOL webinars that we've had, indicating that more and more women recognize the role of home gardens in achieving household food security. The infograph also indicates that more than 700 individuals tuned in via Zoom, 158 of which were new joiners or first-time attendees, while more than 1,800 viewed the webinar through SEARCA's Facebook page. And lastly, we've had online attendees from the USA, Nigeria, Hong Kong, and several countries in Southeast Asia, majority of whom come from the Philippines. This shows the number of individuals and countries that SEARCA's webinar has reached so far. We're trying our best to be able to reach as many individuals, farmers, and farming communities as possible through this online platform and really make a difference in the lives of our stakeholders, especially in this COVID-19 era. Now, going back to today's webinar, you will see today's lineup of speakers on your screen. After my introduction and a few housekeeping reminders, Ms. Michelle Samia, the School and Home Gardens Coordinator of the multi-awarded Labuin Elementary School in Pila, Laguna, will also share with us her experiences in running school plus home gardens. Mr. Lamberto Perolina, Education Supervisor in Agriculture, will discuss DepEd Laguna's program on agriculture, food, and nutrition, and how the partnership with SEARCA and UPLB has improved the nutrition status of children in pilot schools involved in the School Plus Home Gardens program. After Mr. Perolina, Dr. Pedcris Orencio, Program Head of SEARCA's Research and Thought Leadership Department, will present the initial results of the recent rapid online survey that was conducted to gather insights on the School Plus Home Gardens after the project has ended in 2017 and how it has helped the school, the parents, and the community during this COVID-19 global pandemic. Our last speaker, but certainly not the least, is Dr. Blesilda M. Calub. Dr. Calub is a university researcher of the Agricultural Systems Institute, College of Agriculture and Food Science of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. She is the project leader of the School Plus Home Gardens program and now the technical coordinator of the online course on scaling the School Plus Home Gardens that SEARCA is developing together with DepEd Laguna, the International Institute of Rural Reconstruction, or IIRR, and UP Los Baños. Dr. Calub will give us an overview of this proposed e-learning for champions to scale up the School Plus Home Gardens. We will have the Q&A after all speakers have given their presentations. For those of you who have questions or comments and are watching online, please do send us your questions. How? If you are tuned in via SEARCA's Facebook page, you may type your questions in the comments section. If you registered and tuned in via Zoom, please post your questions or comments in the Q&A section located at the bottom or top of your screen, depending on the gadget you are using. Kindly indicate your location now or country or origin. It will be good for us to know where you are watching this webinar. We encourage you to please like SEARCA's FB page now by pressing the little thumbs up sign just below the cover photo for us to remain socially connected. By liking our FB page, you will regularly receive updates on our learning events, webinars, and postings on recent developments in agriculture and rural development. Please note that this webinar will be recorded and will be made available on SEARCA's website and FB page and YouTube channel. We are happy to inform you that you can now access the recording of the first 3 SOL webinar series. The 4th webinar will also be shared soon. Today's presentations will be available on the SEARCA website at www.searca.org. You may check them out in a day or two if you want to refer back to them. The slides shown during the first 4 webinars have already been posted on the SEARCA website. If you have issues or are experiencing technical difficulties with the Zoom online platform, please email my colleague, jmark@solve@searca.org. Without further ado, let me turn over the screen to our first speaker this morning, Ms. Michelle Samia, who will share with us Labuin Elementary School's experience in implementing the School Plus Home Gardens program. Ma Michelle?
Good morning to all the participants of SEARCA online learning and virtual engagement, Solve for Food Insecurity in this time of COVID-19 pandemic. On behalf of our school division superintendent, Ma'am Marites A. Ibanez, our district supervisor, Dr. Florentina C. Rangkap, Ma'am Leia A. La Rosa, our school principal, with the 16th elementary public school, 3 junior high school, and 1 standalone senior high school of Pila district with the 22 teachers and 701 learners of Labuin Elementary School. We are greatly honored to share with you our experiences of School Plus Home Garden program. It was a great privilege for us to be chosen as one of the pilot school of SEARCA UPLB DepEd Laguna, a joint project entitled A Participatory Action Research on School and Community-Based Food and Nutrition Program for Literacy, Poverty Reduction, and Sustainable Development, commonly known as School Plus Home Garden Program. Being one of their pilot school was not that quite easy, where we have undergone on the selection, monitoring, and of SEARCA UPLB DepEd Laguna, led by Mr. Henry Custodio and Ms. Ana Gail Valles of SEARCA. At the time we visited our school, we are all excited, for we thought at first that they were the judges of the division contest, the for best implementer of Gulayan sa Paaralan project. During that time, our school principal was Mrs. Soledad S. Villanueva and Ma'am Eva Marie S. Cambe, our district supervisor. Along our journey of the School Plus Home Garden program, Ma'am Sol was promoted and transferred to another district. Mixed emotions of joy and sadness mingled in each and every one of us. Joy for the promotion of Ma'am Sol and sadness for she will lead the project with us. But we must accept it as a challenge, looking it in a positive way. Labuin Elementary School was so blessed for having Ma'am Eva Marie Escambe as OIC in our school. Along the implementation of the School Plus Home Garden program, we encountered various challenges. And some of these challenges, and here are some of these challenges. The limited source of fund, the negative attitudes of parents towards gardening, the climate change, the occurrence of pests and diseases, the overlapping of school activities, the insufficient availability of source of water supply, and the presence of stores selling junk foods near the school. And to overcome these challenges, here are some of the strategies we adopted. Through the Special Education Fund of the local school board, our municipal mayor, Honorable Edgardo A. Ramos, granted the school's financial request amounting to 200,000 pesos for the application of edible landscaping, renovation of nipa hut, construction of garden pens, fish pond, and lanai in our school garden. For the negative attitudes of parents towards gardening, resulting to the low interest of our children in agriculture and even not allowing them to hold and feel the soil. We motivated our learners through the integration of concepts of organic agriculture, nutrition education, climate change, and solid waste management in some of the lessons or topic in the learning areas like mathematics, English, science, and of course in EPP or PL. We also to conduct garden visit or to discuss part of their lesson in the school garden, making the garden as a potential avenue or laboratory for enhancement of learning. We conducted training workshop and related activities for the parents, particularly the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program or the PURPIS beneficiaries, on the importance of the school and home garden program in terms of food security at home. To overcome the challenges on water shortage brought out by climate change and presence of pests, we applied all the learnings we gained through planting of indigenous crops, growing of climate-resilient varieties, planting of indigenous crops, adoption of sound cultural management like crop rotation, companion cropping, and applying the basic principles of pest management. With the presence of sari-sari stores, selling junk food near the school, and to avoid learners eating junk food, we in our own initiative, through the assistance of our barangay chairman and ABC president, Honorable Jobir P. Machenso, the endorsement of the municipal ordinance No to Junk Food to be implemented in the entire municipality of Pila in coordination with Pila Municipal Nutrition Action Office. They monitored sari-sari stores near the school, and eventually, the ordinance was passed and signed during the Sangguniang Bayan meeting. From then onward, all stores within the 100 meter radius from the school are not allowed to sell anymore, to sell junk foods for school children starting 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. during school days. Despite those many challenges and problems we encountered, our hard work was paid off because we won as the most outstanding partner school of SEARCA UPLB, best in community extension, and best in partnership with local government units and on their program, School Plus Home Garden Program. Being one of the most outstanding partner school of SEARCA UPLB, it opens more opportunity for our school. Doors and windows of opportunity were opened to Labuin Elementary School. In that year, Labuin Elementary School received an invitation from Samia ESD Japan Award with the theme Improving Health and Nutrition. With this, SEARCA UPLB, DepEd Laguna, gave their full and undying support for us to join this project. Luckily, we won third place at Samia ESD Japan Award held at Bangkok, Thailand in November 29, 2017. Receiving the award with Dr. Hill Sagigip, the former director of SEARCA, Yusek Mateo of the Department of Education, Attorney Muyot for the Legal Affairs of the Department of Education, and Dr. Jocelyn S. Solana, our former Division Superintendent, and Ma'am Eva Marie S. Cambe, and some of the Filipino officials during the awarding. It was an unforgettable experience to all of us, for it was the first time for the Philippines to receive such award for more than past 40 years. The School Plus Home Garden program was a one-year project of SEARCA UPLB and DepEd Laguna. After the termination of the project, Labuin Elementary School still continue implementing, sustaining, and promoting the project to the rest of the elementary and secondary school in the district of Pila, until all of them became sister and brother school of Labuin Elementary School. Since saturated, the project was then scaled up to other neighboring districts of Victoria and Calauan. On the following year, another laurel was received by Labuin Elementary School. We won first place in Simeo Recon Award, Best in Policy Commitment, held at Jakarta, Indonesia on October 18, 2018, with another school project, the LPA-P, or the Linear Programming Approach towards strengthening partnership to improve nutrition. It was actually a joint project of the Labuin Elementary School and IHNF UPLB or the Institute of Human Nutrition and Food, spearheaded by Dr. Leila S. Apita. Labuin Elementary School received 2 international awards for 2 consecutive years. And our accomplishment was being featured at ABS-CBN TV Patrol, Southern Tagalog. And also, our accomplishment was published in Daily Inquirer and Manila Times. And I am proud to tell you that the only reasons behind these awards was the School Plus Home Garden program, where we all believe that there are treasures indeed in the soil. As the saying goes, in every man's success, there is a woman behind. And I believe that in every award and accomplishment we had, there are best practices and innovations behind. Let me share with you some of our best practices and innovation that led Labuin Elementary School to achieve those priceless recognitions and awards. First, to engage the parents of our learners on the importance of school and home garden program to the health and nutrition of their children. Initially, we conducted a parent and child cooking contest. Then, we encouraged them to put up a home garden through the assistance of Municipal Agriculture Office and the Municipal Nutrition Action Office, and to strengthen partnership with local government units through consultative meeting and having formal agreement of providing full support to school programs and projects through Memorandum of Agreement or the Memorandum of Understanding. Implementing the Municipal Ordinance No to Junk Food with the Municipality of Pila to ensure that all our pupils are eating the right and nutritious food inside and outside the school. Our school garden also served as benchmarking site for other schools, districts, nearby provinces, and some of the Asian countries during the International Training of Trainers of School Plus Home Garden program. To arouse and sustain the interest of the learners about agriculture, they were encouraged to visit the garden as often as they wish to, usually with the guidance of their advisor, making the school garden as a learning laboratory. Harvested vegetable from the garden was used in the school-based feeding program. To promote nutrition education, learners are encouraged to eat vegetable using modified recipes, which were prepared by themselves together with their parents. As Dr. Calub often will tell us, we should act like a virus. We should influence others to adopt the said project both in the school and at home as well. For this is a good virus to spread out. We have to share the learnings and experiences to our fellow teachers and parents in the community. From them to start their own gardens with distributed planting materials as initial garden inputs. And most of all, what made our School Plus Home Garden program amazing was not the only physical garden itself, but the impact and the influence it brings to pupils, teachers, parents, and to the community. For us to ensure that after 120 days of the school-based feeding program, our pupils will continuously eat the right kind of nutritious food for the remaining 245 days, we conducted trainings and workshops for scaling up the project to the purpose beneficiaries and other parents. If you would ask me, what is our overall outlook for the School Plus Home Garden program? For us, it is a key to strong partnership with the local government unit, non-government organizations, and other stakeholders. For it will always take a village to raise a child, as the Kenyan proverb says. It is the key to building a good relationship between the school, barangay officials, and the community. A key to poverty and illiteracy reduction. And in this time of pandemic situation, School Plus Home Garden program is a key to food security for every family to alleviate hunger and malnutrition. a key to economic development, wherein it helps reduces families' expenses, create savings, and provide source of income for families to alleviate poverty. A key for the improvement of academic performance of school children once nutrition problem is checked, especially for those learners who are bright but could not focus on their lessons due oftentimes to an empty stomach that usually resulted to absenteeism and eventually for dropping out. But through the school plus home garden program, wherein proper nutrition is ensured, they can perform well academically in school now. And it is a big key. The school plus home garden program is a big key to all learners for them to have a brighter future. The school plus home garden program providing nutrition, education, organic agriculture, and the establishment of home gardens in the community for economic development, Labuin Elementary School did not stop creating new programs and projects for the benefits of the school, learners, and the entire community. In line with this, we conceptualized and initiated a livelihood program on mushroom production, augmenting nutrition and economic status of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. This project was realized in partnership with the local government units, Sangguniang Bayan, and the LSPU Sinuluan campus. It is an existing project of Labuin Elementary School, wherein the Department of Labor and Employment granted us the amount of 600,000 pesos for the construction of facilities, laboratories, the purchase of equipment, and provision of trainings for the teachers and parents as purpose beneficiaries of Pila. For us to sustain what we have reaped on the school plus home garden program, here are some of our recommendations. The establishment of linkages with the local government units, non-government organizations, and government organizations and other stakeholders. The conduct of trainings and workshops and technical and provisions of technical assistance for teachers, parents, and pupils in a year-round basis. The scaling up of the project in all elementary and secondary schools within the district, the municipalities, and nearby provinces. As part of an outreach program, the School Plus Home Garden program was promoted in the municipalities of Coron and Busuanga in Palawan through the Regalo ng Kilid Foundation Incorporated, spearheaded by Dr. Manny Reyes and funded by the Kansas State University. The integration of organic agriculture, nutrition, education, and climate change through adaptation and mitigation in different subject areas. And the implementation of municipal ordinances to safeguard school children's proper nutrition. To conclude, let's have this quotation. To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. For I believe that in our strong hands, the future lies today. This is Michelle R. Samia, School and Home Garden Coordinator. Good morning and thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Michelle, for sharing with us your personal journey, along with the best practices and innovations for establishing and sustaining the school gardens. The key messages here are, 1, the need to develop a cadre of well-motivated, capable, and dedicated teachers who are willing to pass on their knowledge and experiences to others. Second, engaging the support of the local government unit, as well as the parents and other local stakeholders in order to sustain the gains of the School Plus Home Gardens. And third, scaling up of the project. We'd also like to congratulate the Labuin Elementary School for the awards you received as one of the major accomplishments of this project. Thank you so much, Ma'am Michelle. We now move on to our next speaker, Mr. Lamberto Perolina, DepEd Laguna's Education Supervisor in Agriculture. Sir Lambert.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mr. Lamberto C. Perolina, the Education Program Supervisor in Agriculture of the Schools Division Office of Laguna. In behalf of our Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Marites A. Ibanez, our Assistant Superintendent, Sir Ed Militante, the CID Chief, Dr. Orlando Valverde, and the SEOD Chief, Sir Darwin Talambayan, together with my co-EPSS and PSDSS, and the rest of the SDO personnel, I am pleased to share with you this morning our experience with the School Plus Home Gardens project. First of all, I would like to thank you, particularly SEARCA and University of the Philippines Los Baños officials, for giving us an opportunity to be in partnership with them. So on the first slide, we will see the DepEd building of the SDO Laguna, wherein it provides basic education services to 25 districts, consisting of 273 elementary schools and 85 secondary schools, with 5,750 elementary teachers and 3,998 secondary teachers, catering services to 164,164 elementary pupils and 99,017 secondary learners. If you will notice also, out of the 30 municipalities in the entire province, only 25 municipalities are being catered, since the rest or the remaining 5 are already cities and have their already respective city divisions like San Pablo, Calamba, Cabuyao, Santa Rosa, and Binyan. At the center of the slide, you will see a picture of a seedling with the word Laguna. This is in consonance with the flagship program of the Schools Division Office of Laguna, where LAGO is an acronym standing for Leaders Action for Greater Outcomes. But relating it to School Plus Home Garden Project, it is our earnest desire that through this program, we will be able to intensify and sustain school as well as home gardening in the entire province of Laguna. With respect to the different programs on agriculture, food, and nutrition, the main program related to agriculture and food is the Gulayan sa Paaralan program, which is based on DepEd Memorandum number 293 Series 2007, wherein the main objective is to provide skills among learners and to arouse interest on the field of agriculture. And with the last issuance on the Memorandum number 95 Series 2016, Gulayan sa Paaralan project should help in providing fresh produce from the garden to supplement the school feeding program. In line with this, there are several supporting programs, if you will notice from the slide. The first one is, of course, the School Plus Home Garden Project, a joint project of SEARCA, UPLB, and DepEd Laguna, which is a one-year project, followed by the 4S project. 4S stands for Scientific and Sustainable Swine Farming in School, sponsored by the Agricultural Training Institute. Another one is Project Lolita. Lolita stands for Let's Go Organic, Let's Invest in Technology-Based Agriculture, sponsored by the Laguna State Polytechnic University Siniloan Campus. And the recently finished project last year only, we have the Organic Agriculture Project of the UPLB, wherein senior high school students, teachers teaching agri-fishery arts were capacitated as to the teaching of organic agriculture production, with our culminating activity of being assessed or having an NC2 holder of organic agriculture production. And lastly, we have the integrated school nutrition model espoused by the 11RR, or the International Institute for Rural Reconstruction. With respect to nutrition, the main program is related to the school-based feeding program, wherein a substantial amount of financial assistance was given to identify nutrition deficient learners from kinder to grade 6, for we all know that there is a great correlation between nutrition and academic performance of the learners. This is supported by the regular dental and medical check-up, including the warming and the water in school, or the WINS program. The complementation of the School plus Home Gardens project. If you will notice from the SDO Laguna Nutritional Status Report, there is a significant decrease on the number of severely wasted and wasted learners for a 3-year period starting from 2017 up to 2019. And one of the reasons behind its success is the implementation or active, implementation of the School plus Home Garden project and the nutrition programs in the entire division. And such could be manifested or clearly reflected on the 4 pilot schools of the School plus Home Gardens project. Such success was made possible not only through the establishment of school garden, the home garden or the community garden, but more so of capacitating teachers, parents, and the community as well, particularly the 4Ps beneficiaries. So it is a collaborative effort and not only of the school. As what have said by Ms. Michelle, our first speaker, in less than a year of its implementation, we started reaping the fruits of our labor. And she had mentioned all these awards. The most prestigious Education for Sustainable Development Japan Award, which for more than 40 years, Philippines was able to receive for the first time an award as the 3rd placer through its title, Intensification of School Garden to Improve Nutrition of School Children in Thailand, followed by the scaling up of the School plus Home Garden project through the International Training of Trainers held at SEARCA on April 2018. As first placer in the Simeo Regional Center on Food and Nutrition, as the best policy commitment in Indonesia way back 2018. And the recent one was the outreach program when the three of us, Ma'am Sol and yours truly, were invited in 2 municipalities in Palawan, namely Busuanga and Coron, to share with the school officials our experience regarding the School plus Home Garden project. And they were so excited to adopt the said program. So let's have now here a review of the pilot schools of School plus Home Garden project. Initially, there are 5 elementary schools: San Andres of Palaminos, Labuin of Pila, Mayhay, Crisanto Goysayco of Nagcarlan, and Cabuyao. But since Cabuyao has already its own city division, they are now into the project Halaman sa Paso, or giving emphasis on the container gardening. And we have the 2 adopted schools, San Antonio and Bagumbayan Elementary School, with 1 secondary school, the Pedro Guevara Memorial National High School. And on the left side, the lightly colored blue are the sister schools with a total of 2, and the yellowish are the brother schools with a total of 8. And if you will notice, only 5 districts were utilized there or were capacitated. The remaining 20, the school garden coordinators from the remaining 20 districts were capacitated through a series of trainings during the division inset. One typical example of adapting school like sister and brother school is best manifested by Santo Angel Central in Santa Cruz District, headed by Ma'am Carmelita Olmeda. So if you will notice from the slide, out of their school, they were able to adapt 4 nearby schools: Palasan Elementary, Calios, Santo Angel Norte, and Santo Angel Sur Elementary Schools. And they are implementing actively the said projects. So if you will notice, the success of the project can be clearly manifested on the nutritional status report, as well as on the decrease of dropout rate and the increase of achievement rate of the said school. And the reasons behind that is the collaboration, the continuous partnership among different stakeholders, the linkages or reinvigorating the networking principles, as well as the striking leadership of the school heads, which I think is the most important factor, for it serves as a prime mover of the said project so that the rest will follow. So, in closure, as the saying goes by Hippocrates, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Let's join hand in hand, for I believe that through gardening vis-a-vis proper nutrition, the ultimate vision of DepEd could be realized, which is to realize their full potential and contribute meaningfully to building the nation. I think that's all for now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perolina, for your presentation. Thank you for sharing with us additional information on the benefits of having a school garden, particularly on the nutrition of the learners. It is also good to know that the project has been implemented in more than 50 schools in the division of Laguna, and we hope that there will be more schools adopting or implementing the school plus home gardens model. You also zeroed in on 3 buzzwords: collaboration, linkages, and leadership as best practices for greater impact and sustainability of the school plus home gardens. Let me now turn over the screen to Dr. Pedcris Orencio, who will present to us the initial results and analysis of the recent online survey that was conducted to assess the status of the school gardens and how these school gardens have benefited the learners and other stakeholders, especially during this COVID-19 global pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Pedcris Orencio.
Good morning, everyone. As many of you already know, SEARCA, UPLB, and DepEd's School Plus Home Gardens program is a garden-based education nutrition program that employed principles of multi-stakeholder and participatory approaches in pilot action research that covered 6 schools and 6 municipalities in Laguna. Today, let me share with you the initial results of the rapid online survey that we have conducted for teachers and parents. This was undertaken during the 3rd week of April 2020, or during the height of the lockdown due to the COVID-19 crisis. While this incident may be uncalled for, it gave us the opportunity to gather perceptions from all the participants of this program and gather their experiences and assess the contribution of implementing the School Plus Home Gardens program in Laguna. Okay. The Rapid Online Survey aims to gather insights on the implementation of the School Plus Home Gardens. Not only the outputs and outcomes, but as mentioned, also the contribution of the project during the COVID crisis. As we all know, among the many things that were affected by the strict implementation of the community quarantine is the access to various supply modes, which includes food, and this has contributed to poor nutrition during this time. As part of the objectives of this rapid online survey, we'd like to see whether the gardens were able to help our schools and communities, and finally, to determine the opportunities for sustaining the gains from this implementation. But if I may, I would like to add that the interventions of the survey is not to validate, but to provide some perspectives that support the claim of the current and ensuing contributions of the project to the province of Laguna. Next slide, please. So just to give a short background, in order to reach our target teachers and parents, the survey capitalized on the School Plus Home Gardens online community platform. We were able to gather responses from 20 towns in Laguna, covering 4 of the 6 sites of the pilot schools. So if you can see from your right, the map shows there the areas that were covered by the survey. 2 sets of questionnaires were used, one for the teachers and one for the parents, with 289 and 308 respondents respectively. And for both questionnaires, majority of the respondents were female. I would like to emphasize that for the teachers' respondents, about 80% of the respondents were female teachers. And for the parents' respondents, we have 86% of female parents who have responded to our questionnaires. So in the following slides, I will be showing more some interesting results from their responses. Okay. In the survey, we asked the teachers to provide an estimation, so to give us a profile of the school gardens that we are covering in the survey. So we asked them to provide an estimation of the sizes and the years in operation of the school gardens. We found that on the average, the size of the school gardens in Laguna is about 310 square meters and are operated for about 5 years. The map also on your right shows the sizes of the gardens according to the responses gathered. So, for instance, their number of years and operations are presented in terms of how dark the shade is, and while the number of the average area is described by estimation of the size. No? Interestingly, we can surmise from this that the older gardens are bigger when compared to the younger ones, probably because maybe they have expanded through time. Next slide, please. In this slide, you will find the responses on the contributions of the school gardens to the different stakeholders. The teachers that have responded to our questionnaire claim that the main contribution is on food supply, and this is followed by material inputs. But you can see that food supply is really the main contribution. But other benefits also include nutrition, skills, and recreation. On the other hand, if we look at in terms of the beneficiaries of the school gardens, these are mostly the learners. More to disclaim by the teachers is a kind of verification that school gardens have contributed to the nutritional and food habits of school-going age children. Next slide, please. Also, following this earlier slide is complementing the claim of increasing number of learners covered the the school-based feeding program, which we can surmise to be attributed to the increasing performance by the school gardens. And Sir Lambert has initially provided some data on this. But just to qualify, please note that these are based on the responses of parents that that participated in the survey, and it's not really an exhaustive assessment of all the schools in Laguna that currently offer the school-based feeding program. But based on the responses of parents, their children who are in primary schools are the ones presently involved in the program. Since most of our respondent parents are coming from Pila and Santa Cruz, which are actually part of the pilot sites of the School Plus Home Gardens program, most of the parents recognize that there is a consequent increase in the coverage of participants in this program coming from their schools. Next slide, please. Anyway, since we're already talking about the contributions and services provided by the school gardens, it may be worthwhile to also know whether the services provided would vary based on size and the duration of implementation in order to reap the benefits or services from the school gardens. And I think the responses from our teachers show that services increase through time or as the gardens mature, and that the bigger the area, the more the contribution is. However, for those who may want to start their gardens, I think you should also consider other factors and should not be limited in terms of how big or how long will you be implementing the program to reap the benefits, since other concerns on like productivity and efficiency may also include effort, inputs, cost, and all of this may vary accordingly in terms of the area that where you will be implementing your project, which also should be considered when planning and implementing the school garden. Okay, so among the intended outcomes of the School Plus Home Gardens is also to contribute to communities' food and nutrition security through encouraging teachers and parents to establish home gardens. So in this survey, we also asked teachers and parents if they are operating their respective home gardens. We found that teachers, for teachers, they practice what they preach. And the reason for doing this, according to them, is primarily for food supply, and next by economic reasons. Although we also found that more teachers involved in school gardens program are into home gardening activities than those not involved in the school gardens. But there's just very slight difference between them. The major reason why teachers do not have school gardens, for those who do not implement them at home, in gardens at home, is the lack of space, and followed by the lack of access to material inputs for gardening activities. Next slide, please. Okay. On the other hand, we noted some perceptions about the school gardens. Based on our survey, we have gathered about 58% of parent respondents from parents who have responded to our questionnaires that have home gardens, and the reasons are very much similar with that of the teachers. However, it is good to note that the varying perceptions about the potential contributions of home gardens from those who do not have them. And it's interesting to note that this varies according to different factors. Like, for instance, by gender, women mostly recognize the contributions on education and environment. But in general, if you look across the responses across the different municipalities, parents put value on the garden's contribution to having or providing additional food supply and supporting the family's nutritional needs. So shared earlier, 58% of the parents respondents and 57% of teachers respondents were involved in school and home gardens, or they're implementing their respective home gardens in home gardens. So this people or these respondents, both parents and teachers, were the ones who had the chance to witness, and test or assess the contribution of the gardens, particularly during the COVID crisis. And it's interesting to note that the responses from most of them have considered that gardens are providing food supply during this crisis. Although teachers have noted that school gardens are found to support nutritional needs during the crisis as well, but while on the other hand, home gardens were noted to be supporting communities economically. So the families, on the other hand, I think they have noted that they have saved they have savings from buying produced or also save themselves from going to the market, also to comply to the strict travel protocols that were implemented during this community quarantine. Okay, so as earlier mentioned, among the intentions of the survey is to have a glimpse of what has transpired or currently transpiring in terms of the implementation of the school plus home gardens in Laguna. From the results, we can surmise transitioning development towards that good practice that complements programs of DepEd or programs by the LGU or by the NGO and other institutions, which may be also attributed to the increasing partnerships and adoption at both the schools and homestead levels in other municipalities. So you can see here that there's a transition from a pilot stage towards scaling and further into putting everything into practice by conducting home gardens. So the combined initiatives, I guess, have created this network of practitioners wherein during the time of the COVID worked in providing food and nutrition security, not only at the homestead level, but also at the community level. Next slide, please. Okay. But of course, I would like to state here that like any development project, there are always challenges to hurdle. So from piloting to adapting and to putting everything into practice by the schools and by the homes, we witness expanding networks of schools and communities. But for instance, the challenges that we have gathered from the responses for implementing home gardens are mostly on the lack of space for implementing or operating a garden, which is sometimes particularly true for rapidly urbanizing areas. So, but these limitations, these are limitations, but it can be solved by having or implementing innovation. So, as I think in the previous webinars, we have already discussed some ways that can be adopted or can be implemented. But what matters most, and would like to emphasize, that when respondents were asked if they're, for those that do not have home gardens, if they're willing to take that opportunity to have and operate the home gardens, they were in unison that they would like to take the challenge, even though there's the limitation. So finally, this is my last slides, and I think at present, all respondents, whether they have or do not have gardens, have recognized the effective role of governments as supportive institutions for implementing school and home gardens. Primarily, Respondents recognized their support in providing material inputs and leading advocacy activities. But I may say that the opportunity for expansion, achieving greater heights, or impacting other communities as well and schools may lie on those people that have not been reached by the support yet. So I think by engaging them in the programs, we can turn them into future advocates and practitioners that would support our interest in scaling and championing the school plus home gardens. Uh, in addition, I would say that this survey has its limitation. It does not represent the entire schools and communities in Laguna, but on a positive note, we were able to gather some useful insights that can help shape future collaboration and complementation at various levels. More so, the results can be considered in scale up or scale out activities, wherein we can establish more partnerships as well and networks and put all the resources together and expertise, of course, from SEARCA, UP Los Baños, DepEd, our pilot schools and adapting schools to achieve that positive and synergistic effect. So thank you very much. And that's all for the results of the survey.
Thank you very much, Sir Ped, for initiating this online survey. Congratulations for doing this. And it is very heartening to note how the School Plus Home Gardens program has really significantly contributed to household food security, and that we now have a network of School Plus Home Gardens practitioners. Okay, so we now move on to our next speaker, who will give us a brief overview of the proposed e-learning for champions of School Plus Home Gardens. Dr. Calub, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Kim. And first, good morning to all our listeners and our viewers of this webinar. I'd like to ask a question. Were you inspired by the presentations of the three persons ahead of me? Yeah? In my presentation, first, I'd like to backtrack a little bit. The presentation which was made by Ms. Michelle Samia, the first speaker, also the presentation by the second speaker, Sir Lambert, were all part of the School Plus Home Gardens project, phase 1, which we implemented in January 2016 to June of 2017. After that project, we completed the project, but towards the end of that project, we instituted a kind of a scaling up strategy so that the project will be able to roll on its own, continue to invite other and adopt other schools, even if the SEARCA support has already ended. And as you see, the presentations are very, very inspiring. Miss Michelle is only one of the 6 pilot schools, and all of the 6 schools have similar experiences. And because of that promotion, there has been a growing demand for other schools to also, for them to be also trained, to be given training on how to start the School Plus Home Gardens in their localities. We have many requests from schools in the Philippines. We also have some demand from the Southeast Asian region, which is the scope of SEARCA. And we had one request from Sierra Leone, which is in Africa. And also very recently, a very, very passionate request from the US, care of being led by Dr. Manny Reyes of Kansas State University. He actually did some initial activities, it was mentioned by Sir Lambert, to set up the School Plus Home Gardens project in Palawan, in the island of Suanga and Coron. With all of those requests, we would like now to, we were thinking what would be the fastest way to be able to address those increasing demand. So for the next slide, I will be showing you the e-learning for champions to scale up school plus home gardens in the Philippines. Through online access, we will be able to promote the School Plus Home Gardens project faster, with a wider reach, and it will be more affordable as compared to doing face-to-face training. As you see here, the major, can we go back first? Can we go back for the slide? Yes. I'd like to mention here that SEARCA is the lead organization for this project, and we are being, and this is being done in collaboration with the University of the Philippines, 2 units. We have UP Los Baños and UP Open University. We are also collaborating with the Department of Education, with the central office, and of course with the division of Laguna. And we also have a longtime partner, IIRR, the International Institute of Rural Reconstruction. Next slide, please. This course is this e-learning project is an advanced online course focusing on going beyond the schools to home gardens and communities. Phase 1 was in the schools, and phase 2 is going beyond the schools, getting out of the school to involve the home gardens and communities. In this course, the learners would be able to learn or review some more concepts, principles, and strategies. They will be able to discover some secrets and some missing links and tips on how to be able to better engage parents in the nutrition of their children, and also how to obtain stronger support of local government units to school and home gardens. And all of this is aimed at ensuring greater sustainability of the program when they started. Next slide, please. This project aims to contribute to DepEd's Sulong Edukalidad, which is a new national initiative to ensure not just access to education, but to quality basic education. And this project wants to do that through improved nutrition. As was mentioned already by the earlier speakers, how nutrition is a big factor in ensuring better education for our children. So specifically, we would like to scale up the improved tie-up of the school gardens with the school-based feeding program. We also would like to strengthen complementation between school plus home gardens and the feeding programs. And we would also like, overall, to contribute to food security and nutrition of our school children. Next slide. So the intended participants or learners of this online course will be school teachers of EPP and PLE, who are also normally the school garden coordinators. We would like also to have with us as participants the school feeding coordinators, the school heads and the principals, some technical staff of the Department of Education at the provincial and district levels, and of course, technical staff of local government units. This online course content shall be developed by staff of SEARCA, UP Los Baños, DepEd Laguna, and IIRR. There will be 10 modules, and the online offering of this course will be through the UP Open University portal. If you have further questions, you can contact Dr. Maria Cristeta Cuaresma, the program head at SEARCA, and Ms. Rosario Bantayan, program specialist and our host of this webinar, through the landline and the email addresses which you will see on the screen. To end this brief overview, let us always remember, let's do good, let's be healthy, and together, let us make a difference in the lives of our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Calub, for this teaser on the advanced online course. As you said, focusing on going beyond the school to home gardens and communities. This is something that I think the school teachers will all look forward to. And thank you so much. You will have our support in making a difference in the lives of our school children. I think all our speakers are now ready for the Q&A. Again, may I remind our online attendees watching the webinar via Facebook page, please start typing your questions now. And those who are tuned in via Zoom, please post your questions in the Q&A box. The first question. The question is from Doreen Lasiste. Are we allowed to utilize some amount from our MOOE or maintenance and operating expenses to grow seedlings to be distributed to our learners for their home gardens? Are the schools allowed to use their MOOE?
So, as long as it is reflected on the SIP and annual procurement plan, the purchase of garden inputs, I think that will be justified.
Okay, so Ms. Doreen, as long as it is reflected in the what again, sir?
School improvement plan.
School improvement plan. It
Annual
is
procurement plan.
Annual procurement plan that is acceptable.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, so for our next question, I think Michelle can answer this. Ma Michelle, how can you convince the parents to venture into home gardening? How were you able to do that?
In our experiences, ma'am, so we encourage our parents through workshop and training. So we invited our parents through the help of our barangay officials, especially the Pantawid Pamilyang Filipino program. So we invited them to a workshop or trainings, since most of the school-based feeding program beneficiaries are the children, the Pantawid Pamilyang Filipino program beneficiaries. So we encourage them to attend trainings and workshops that our school are able to give them for free.
Okay, so from the trainings, these 4Ps beneficiaries, the parents were able to learn more about how to establish home gardens, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And then follow-up question, Michelle. What if the school doesn't have much soil or space to establish home gardens? Is that a problem?
So for us, ma'am, that is not a problem. So during the training, so we encourage them to have the container gardening. So in align with the solid waste management. So instead of throwing those basins, so we taught them how to plant vegetable in a container. There are no space in their household. And then for those parents that have now no space, so we allow them or invite them to plant vegetable inside our school.
Oh, okay. So you also make the spaces available in your school as extended gardens of the community. For Sir Lambert, up to what extent is your assistance to the school? Do you give assistance to the school?
Primarily, as the Education Program Supervisor in Agriculture of Schools Division Office of Laguna, my main task is to provide technical assistance, not only among teachers, but also school heads and other garden enthusiasts who wanted to improve their school garden, which in one way or another would help in supplementing the school feeding program.
Okay, thank you, Sir Lambert. There's another question here. From Rem de Ramos, but she started with, thank you for sharing the best practices. It is indeed inspiring and encouraging, especially during this time of COVID-19. The question is, during semestral break, and now that the virus caused prolonged suspension of classes, how is the School Plus Home Garden program maintained or monitored in your school with your students? I think Ma'am Michelle and Sir Lambert can answer this. Who goes first? Ma'am Michelle.
Okay, ma'am. So in this time of COVID-19 pandemic, so we ensured that our school garden was sustained. So our principal, Ma'am Leia La Rosa, so assigned our janitor or the job order to plant vegetable in our school garden. And I was blessed that my home is near the school, so I can monitor and visit our school garden at least once a week.
Okay, that's good to know, Ma'am Michelle. That's really an advantage for you because you live near the school. How about you, Sir Lambert? Any additional comment?
Like what Ma'am Michelle has said, most of the schools in the district of Pila and Santa Cruz were funded by the local government units, wherein utility workers are hired by the school and financed by the office of the municipal mayor. But aside from that, a certain amount from the canteen proceeds could be used in hiring someone who could manage or maintain the school garden, particularly in this time of COVID crisis. And another one is, as school head, most of them have a regular visit to their corresponding school wherein they could be of help in maintaining the school gardens.
Okay, thank you, Sir Lambert, for that information. From Miss Rem de Ramos. Oh, no, yeah. This question can be answered, I think, by Sir Ped or DepEd Calub. Is the online course offered for free by UP Open University? DepEd. Okay.
Very good question. Right now, the course is still being developed. And I think the idea is this will be first offered by January. We are targeting January to be offered, but as a pilot offering. And we are still in the process of negotiating with DepEd so that maybe DepEd can provide some kind of scholarship. The online course right now, I think, is not for free, but maybe there's an opportunity, but we have to discuss this with UPOU. They are now promoting MOOCs, mass online education. The idea of that is you can look at the courses, you can take the courses for free, but when you need a certificate, then that's the time for you to pay, get an exam. Before you will be awarded a certificate, you have to take an exam and then you pay.
Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. We experienced some power outage. And thank you for bearing with us and thank you for waiting for us. We now continue. Okay, so the question was, this is where we stopped. The question was, is the online course offered by UPOU free? Okay, so Dr. Calub said that at the moment, we're still making arrangements, coordinating with the UP Open University and with, of course, with the Department of Education. So let's just wait for further details regarding the offering of this online course. Actually, we're just starting to coordinate with the module developers, our resource persons who are helping us develop the modules or the online course modules for this e-learning course for Champions of School plus Home Gardens. And we hope that we will be able to finish all the modules by the end of the year and start offering it starting January of 2021. Okay, next question from Miss Christina Season. Sir Lambert, would it be possible for the school garden program to be incorporated in the school curriculum? Sir Lambert.
As we all know, one of the major components of EPP and TLE is agricultural arts, or shall we say agri-fishery arts. Some of the major competencies mentioned there has something to do with gardening, particularly not only on the elementary, but as well on the exploratory years of the secondary grade 7 and 8. It is already being implemented in our curriculum.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Lambert, for that assurance. We have here another question from Ken Sheen. I think this can be answered by both Ma'am Michelle and Sir Lambert. Can you give us an advice in implementing the program in private school? If ever there is a private school willing to go into School plus Home Gardens, what advice can you give him or her? Sir Lambert.
Ladies first, Ma'am Kim. So let's have first Ma'am Michelle.
Okay, Ma'am Michelle.
Okay, ma'am. So in my experience, ma'am, there was a time that the South Bay School of Pagsawitan, Santa Cruz, Laguna. So they conduct a benchmarking. They benchmark our school garden, and they want to adapt the school garden in their school. So then I told them to just write a request for our district supervisor, then at the division office, and of course to Sir Lambert and our principal. And I am very much willing to share what are the best practices of our school and home garden program for the private school.
Yeah, okay. Sir, how about Sir Lambert? Any additional comment on that?
As what I have said, since agriculture is included in our curriculum, although private school have their leeway regarding the competencies, I think as long as the school concerned has an available space wherein garden could be established, and the willingness and interest of the administrators, we at the Schools Division of Laguna are very much willing to provide an extending help to anyone who is interested to venture in such an activity like school gardening.
Okay, so even if you come from a private school or running a private school, School plus Home Gardens program can be implemented as long as there is that commitment and as long as there is space. Yep. Okay, thank you, Sir Lambert. This one is for, I think, Doc Bess. May we use your research for replication in our churches Gulayan sa Bakuran project spearheaded by our church's Christian family organization?
Yes, you can use our results. In fact, some of these are already available online on the SEARCA website. The video is available. Also, we have used a guidebook on implementing the School plus Home Gardens project, and that guidebook is also available as a PDF file from the SEARCA website. Okay, thank you for that information. For Ma'am Michelle, what is your sustainability plan for the result of your program? How will you measure the impact of your program to different partner families and communities?
Actually, ma'am, during the starting of the School Plus Home Garden program, we made the long-term action plan. There is a long-term action plan indicated in the long-term action plan are the objective in the scaling up and sustaining partnership with the local government unit, non-government organization, as well as other stakeholders and within the parents. So conducting of more trainings, implementing of the total implementation of the school garden as well as the home garden project. Then, through the school-based feeding program, we measured the number of the school-based feeding program beneficiaries decreases through the school-based feeding program. And then we measured the numbers also of the household, the number of household committed on home gardening. So from 40 household, now it numbered to 120 household in our barangay, establishing their own home garden. Even in the livelihood program on mushroom production that we added on the school and home garden project.
Another question here from Lenny Obis Hona. How can we encourage the students who are not specializing in agriculture to participate in the Gulayan sa Paaralan program?
We can encourage our learners through the integration of gardening or organic agriculture in some of the learning areas or subject like mathematics, science, English, and EPP, wherein we can integrate in some part of the lesson plan. So for this, children are encouraged doing garden activities. So like in Labuin Elementary School, that is our problem on how we can encourage our pupils. So through the concept of edible landscaping, then we allow our children to visit our garden. So they seen the concept of edible landscaping, the hard shape, the different colors. So there are times na pag nakaupo kami dun sa kubo, ma'am, nakikita namin yung mga bata na tumatakas sila, kumukuha sila ng mga lettuce. So from that day, there are two children. Then nilalagay nila sa burger. Since nagtitinda ng burger ng school canteen, nilalagay nila dun sa burger na kinakain nila. Then di namin sila sinasaway, kunyari di namin sila nakita. Then on the other day, nakita namin sila as a group na. So doon namin na-prove na we can encourage our children to hold and feel the soil for them to love gardening. So through the integration of these activities, kumbaga, nagle-lesson ka, you're teaching science, at the same time, they are in gardening. They engage in gardening while they learning in science. So through integration of concept.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Ma'am Michelle. The next question is directed to, I think this one can be answered by Doc Bess. Can we have a training
on starting a home garden? Yes, we can have a training on starting a home garden, but not right now. When we still have the ECQ, MPCQ, GCQ. We can arrange for that, but as you know, we have also very limited manpower, budget. The best way, I think, is to go online, where you can do it on your own time, and it's less expensive. But we are not closing the door for face-to-face training. We can do that. We can arrange for that.
Thank you, Ma'am Bess. This one is for Ma'am Michelle, are you also considering hydroponics and aquaponics for the school plus home garden program? Maybe not now, but in the future?
Hydroponics and aquaponics are also it's a good practice for the school and home garden program. Maybe for those households that do not have the area for gardening. If there were no available soil, so they can use the hydroponics or aquaponics in doing the school and home garden program.
Okay, this one is directed to Sir Lambert. Sir Lambert.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you give an example on how to integrate gardening in English?
So a typical example is, for instance, your topic is adjective regarding shape. So the teacher will visit the garden together with their learners and them to describe, for instance, the different leaves of the vegetables. Then afterwards, then they will proceed to the lesson proper of discussing about shape, wherein the springboard is the school garden. I think that's a simple scenario wherein we can integrate English topics in school gardening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Sir Lambert, for informing us that English really can be integrated into, or gardening can be integrated into the English curriculum. I remember when we had our training of trainers on school plus home gardens, one of the resource persons there presented a topic on integrating school gardens into the curriculum, and she presented a poem composed by the students using the school gardens as a basis, as a reference for coming up or creating, developing this poem. So it is possible, really possible. We have a lot of questions here regarding partnering with SEARCA on the school plus home gardens. Is Sir Ped, are you there? Okay, so for those questions regarding possible partnership with SEARCA or memorandum of agreement with SEARCA in the implementation of the School Plus Home Gardens program, we will be addressing your questions after the seminar when Sir Ped is back. I think he is also experiencing difficulty, especially with the power outage in his place. Okay, so I think that's about it for now. We have used up our time for the Q&A, and we are also considering partnering with other agencies like UP Open University and the Department of Education Central Office when it comes to the online course on the advanced online course on the School Plus Home Gardens, on scaling the School Plus Home Gardens program. Rest assured that for those questions that we were not able to entertain at this time, we will send them to our speakers, and they will answer your questions as soon as possible. So once again, we thank you, all our speakers this morning. Thank you to Ma'am Michelle, to Sir Lambert, to Sir Ped, and Dr. Beth Calub. This webinar session has been quite engaging and packed with lots of info which enhance our understanding of School Plus Home Gardens. Before we close this webinar, we request you to send us your feedback by clicking the link on a quick feedback form, which will take you just a minute to accomplish or to complete in the SEARCA FB page. If you registered via Zoom, you will be redirected to the feedback form before you leave the webinar room. For those who wish to receive an e-certificate for participating in today's webinar, please visit the link shown on your screen. Please note that we will only accommodate requests for e-certificates within 24 hours after the end of this webinar session. I repeat, we will only entertain requests for e-certificates within 24 hours after the end of this session. We wish to thank those of you who sent us your feedback after last week's fourth webinar. On behalf of SEARCA, thank you for the positive feedback and suggestions, which we are closely taking note of. Again, thank you, online viewers, for joining us and staying with us throughout this online session. Our speakers today have shown us that creating a successful and sustainable school and home garden is a process that requires the collaborative effort of dedicated teachers in the likes of Ma'am Michelle, Samia, strong support of school heads like Ma'am Sol Villanueva and Mr. Lambert Perolina, the engagement and involvement of parents and support of local government units and other members of the community. Indeed, it takes a village to raise a child. And at SEARCA, we're doing it one step at a time, one school at a time. Please join us again for another webinar session next Wednesday, June 3rd at 10 in the morning. Our next online conversation will talk about addressing food and nutrition security or food and nutrition insecurity through sustainable agricultural intensification. Our speakers include Dr. Vara Prasad, University Distinguished Professor of Kansas State University, and Dr. Manny Reyes, Research Professor of the same university. The webinar will also feature examples of conservation agriculture for commercial vegetable home gardens in Cambodia. Let us help one another fight this COVID-19 pandemic. We hope that as we go along, we will build and create a community of better, bigger, and smarter farmers and farming families. This is Kim Bantayan for SEARCA. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
In the Philippines, almost a third of 5 to 10-year-old children are underweight and stunted. And studies have shown that poor nutrition leads to poor academic performance and early school dropouts. Moreover, the youth's declining interest in agriculture poses a major challenge for the future of food security in Southeast Asia. School and home gardens are a simple yet effective way of addressing these problems. The concept is nothing new, but what if, through an integrated, participatory, and science-based approach, we could further capitalize on school and home gardens to alleviate hunger, promote nutrition and healthy diets, enhance academic performance, and stimulate the youth's interest in agriculture. These were the challenges that the School and Home Gardens project addressed. With initial funding from the Asian Development Bank and the Japan Fund for Poverty Reduction through the Simeo College, this participatory action research combined the strengths of SEARCA, Simeo Center of Excellence in Agriculture, the University of the Philippines Los Baños, one of the leading agricultural universities in Southeast Asia, and the Department of Education, the lead coordinating agency of schools in the Philippines. The idea for this project came about as early as 2010, when then Philippine Education Secretary and Simeo President, Brother Armin Luistro, tapped SEARCA to help strengthen efforts to address these issues. The idea was for the pilot sites in the Philippines to be a takeoff and central learning point, to be replicated in other Southeast Asian countries with the assistance of Simeo centers. To achieve this goal, the project has three main pillars: education, nutrition, and economics. We implemented the School and Home Gardens project through a series of participatory activities. First, we selected the pilot schools. Then we engaged teachers in capacity building activities.
Relevant concepts, practices, and technologies were introduced to the teachers.
After which, teachers established the school gardens, following various concepts, including edible landscaping. Schools were then provided with additional garden facilities and equipment. Moreover, we formally linked partner schools with their respective local government units.
During implementation, we encourage teachers to link very closely with their local government units, with the municipal agriculture officers, and also with the municipal nutrition action officers.
Local government units supplied additional garden facilities and manpower. Toward the project end, awards and recognition were given to outstanding schools for their best practices in implementing various components of the project. The project's key accomplishments focused on nutrition, education, and economic well-being. Weight and height of the malnourished children improved.
It lessened the malnourished and wasted pupils in our school.
School children ate more vegetables. Moreover, students showed better familiarity with vegetables and their nutrients.
They have learned to differentiate the nutritive value of different vegetables in our garden.
Dahil po sa gulayan, naging familiar po sa mga gulay na akala ko po noon ay isang damo lang, na yun po pala ay pwedeng kainin.
School gardens have become learning sites for various classes, showcasing education in a natural setting. They have also made school children more aware of simple agricultural practices. The school gardens became learning laboratories for children, teachers, and even parents, where they learned about recommended and appropriate technologies and practices of UPLB relevant to the project.
Some of the pupils said, "Sir, I want to be an agriculturist someday."
Having participated in numerous capacity building activities, the pilot school teachers themselves have been actively conducting re-eco workshops. Through the workshops conducted, the teachers prepared a total of 125 lesson plans for their classes. This is the project's way of institutionalizing school gardens as a tool for education. Other than the lesson plans, project partners generated knowledge resources, including a recipe book for the school feeding program and a module on school gardens. The school gardens supplied almost half of the needs of the school feeding program and even extended the duration of the feeding period.
Nagluluto po kami ng iba't ibang ulam. At ang maganda po doon, ang nilalahok po namin ay dito po nanggagaling sa aming gulayan.
School children brought home some of the harvest for their families.
Ito po ay talbos ng kamote. Minsan po ako po ay nakakapag-uwi nito sa aming bahay para po lutuin ni nanay.
Families of school children have actively participated in the maintenance of the school gardens. Through the gardening workshops and provision of planting materials, these families have also established gardens in their respective homes.
Ayan, tulad po ng mga anak ko, mahilig sa gulay. Sa kanila, halimbawa po yung talbos, pwede na lang po na yung ipalaga po gusto nila, isasapaw lang po sana, ulam na po nila. Tsaka laking tipid po. Hindi na po bibili sa palengke, hindi ka na bibili sa basta pag may sarili kang tanim, kukuha ka lang.
The pilot schools have planted the seeds and reaped the fruits of their labor. But the School and Home Gardens project lives on through its self-sustaining and self-rolling design. For one, 2 other schools in Laguna have already adopted the School and Home Gardens model through their own initiatives. From this growing network of pilot and sister schools with their respective local governments, we envision the School Gardens project to scale out throughout the province of Laguna, becoming a self-propelling model for other interested provinces in the country and even other countries in Southeast Asia.
I hope in the near future that this will be a good starting point for other stakeholders to be in partner with us in this noble task of providing proper nutrition to our school children.
Overall, the School and Home Gardens have improved children's nutrition and sparked their interest in agriculture. Let us continue to build gardens that build children's lives and livelihood for their families.
Isa rin sa naging benepisyo ng gulayan sa paaralan ay ang mga magulang ng aming mga eskwela. Hindi na sila namumroblema kahit magmahalan man ang mga gulay, hindi na sila bumibili ng gulay sa labas dahil mayroon na silang sariling tanim.
Kaisipan at pangangatawan ay aking sandata upang sagutin